What If is finally done, which means I can go through and rank all of the episodes that we've had so far. And in real time, you too can watch the decline of this show into mediocrity. You may not think that. I may not think that. Let's find out, actually. Let's find out what I think. I'm gonna go episode by episode here, starting with season 1 through to the end of the show, season 3, and we will see. We will see how this all fares. Enjoy this tier list. And if you want more stuff like this for maybe just all of the shows that we've had from Marvel so far, or all of the movies, let me know. I do still really want to go back and rewatch all of the MCU films and give you my thoughts with some retro reviews. So also stay tuned for that. Okay, let's get into it. Starting off with season 1, episode 1. What if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? Yeah, so I actually have a Funko for this one that Chris sent me. I really liked this episode. I think it's really cool because it plays on the MCU sort of what if idea of just like, you know, something that's, well, both in the MCU and in the comics, kind of playing with this idea of what happened in sort of a prime Earth story and then changing up to give us a different continuity with this what if. So I like it. I think I'd give this one an S, to be honest with you. I really liked this episode. Starting off strong, honestly. What if T'Challa became Star-Lord is season 1, episode 2. This one made me bawl my freaking eyes out. It was so good. I think I actually did a reaction to this one over on The Place for fans of bladed cooling devices, the place that shall not be named. And I remember just loving it so much. Chadwick Boseman's last performance as Black Panther, amazing. I miss Chadwick Boseman. We're gonna give it S tier. So far it's going well for season 1, but let's see, will it get stinky? What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? This one was all right. I don't remember super loving it. This is the one, yeah, with Nick Fury, and they're trying to figure out, like, who's behind, like, killing everyone. Right. I'm gonna say, I'll give it a B. It was still really good, but it wasn't, like, my favorite episode or anything like that. Season 1, episode 4. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Oh, this was a great episode. This was amazing. This episode was amazing, and it gave us an amazing alternate version of Doctor Strange where he goes into just the darkest version of himself, and we got Strange Supreme out of this. I love this version of Doctor Strange. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this one S tier as well. Wow, there's a lot of fire episodes in season 1. I really wish in Multiverse of Madness that they had like confirmed that the alternate version of Strange that's in that is this Strange. I don't think it was ever like fully confirmed, but we were all theorizing, and then I don't think they actually really did very much with that, unless I'm misremembering. It's been a minute since I've watched Multiverse of Madness, but I am excited to revisit that movie when I eventually get there. That one, a lot of people had very intense feelings about it, and I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and I recently went back and watched part of it recently. I still liked it. All right, season 1, episode 5. What if zombies? I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the zombie first in the comics, to be honest. If you've ever watched any of my content over on Top 10 Nerd when I talked about it, I loathed going back to it because there's some stuff in there that's just so messed up. But I do love an alternate zombie reality in general, and I actually think this episode did a pretty good job with the zombie verse. I'll give this one an A. So far we haven't had anything super stinky in season 1. Season 1, episode 6. What if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? This one was fine. I don't remember being super attached to it, but I did like it. I did think it was interesting. I'll give it a B. I don't think it was bad. I'll give it a B. All right, so what if Thor were an only child? Right. This is Party Thor. I do like the concept of Party Thor. I think Party Thor is fun. This episode was, once again, it's like nothing to write home about, but it's super fun. So I think I'll give this one a B. I'm still waiting for us to have something that's like F, but I don't think it's gonna happen in season 1. Okay, what if Ultron won? Oh, I loved this episode. This one is definitely an S tier for me.
I see you.
There's a lot of S tiers in this season. Oh my gosh. Yeah, what if Ultron Won was like crazy? And there were such high stakes I felt in this episode. Something that I felt was sorely missing, as I said in my reviews for season 3, from most of season 3. Okay, so episode number 9, final episode of season 1. What if the Watcher broke his oath? Don't worry, he's gonna do it a lot more. Don't worry, the Watcher always be breaking his oath. And if you've read the comics, you know that that does happen quite a bit. I'll just sip my tea. So I feel like this episode was actually pretty hype at the time because everyone was coming together and it was pretty cool. Now, in retrospect, now that I've seen everything else that we did, especially with season 2, this actually doesn't get me as hyped because I know that it's going to lead to just more everyone getting together. And I mean, it kind of became old hat by the end. However, in season 1, relative to everything that just came before it, this was pretty cool. And it was pretty cool to watch them fight back against Ultron. Although I think if I went back and watched this now, I'm not sure how I'd feel about the fighting part of it. If it would still feel as good or if I would have issues with it. This is just making me feel like I need to go back and watch season 1 of What If, which I maybe need to do just because there's so many S tier episodes in it. I'm gonna give this one an A slightly reluctant A, but still an A. Because yeah, it was pretty hype at the time. I remember being super hyped when I watched it, and I remember liking it. Although I think there were some issues that I had with just the way that we used like the Infinity Stones in this and the threat level of Infinity Ultron. There's some things that I had issues with, but we'll you know, that's why it's not getting S tier. All right, season 2. It started pretty good. It was a fun ride, but ultimately this was a season that did disappoint me. I did reviews on season 2 on the channel, so if you did want to check any of those out, they are up. I did a review for every episode of season 2 because I was making regular content at that time, but season 1, I wasn't really posting as much on my channel then, so yeah. Season 1, episode 1. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? What if? I actually really liked this episode. I thought it was really fun. I liked the mystery of it. I love Karen Gillan, so this one was a pretty strong opener for me. I'm gonna give this one an A tier. Okay, what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? Now, I remember being really hyped for the idea of this episode, but then it didn't end up being what I thought it was gonna be. If that makes sense. That it was gonna be like kind of a continuation from season 1, and then it wasn't that. So I mean, it was fine. It was good. There was definitely some things I liked about it. I liked the connection that we had between Hope and Peter in this episode. I thought that was really fun. I'm gonna give it a B. What if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? Yo, this episode was just so fun. This episode was so fun. I'll give this one an A. I don't know. Actually, is it higher? It's basically just Die Hard. It's just Die Hard, but it's Marvel Die Hard, and I really liked that. Season 2, episode 4. What if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? This was actually a surprisingly fun episode for me. This is like Tony racing for the Grandmaster, a whole thing on Sakaar, and weirdly I really liked this episode. Like, I'm thinking about it now and there's so much of it coming back to me, which means that I think I really enjoyed it. I think I'm also gonna give this one an A. I don't know if that's weird, but I'm doing it. Season 2, episode 5. What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? Right. This one was good. I remember enjoying it. I did have some issues with some of the choices that characters made in this episode, but I liked the relationship between Carter and Natasha. I thought that that was kind of cool, like just kind of playing on kind of the relationship that she has with Steve, and then, you know, instead of Steve, it's Peggy, and so they just have this like really close like friendship and bond. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, just some of the actual like what was going on in the story, I think, were some of the issues that I took with the episode. So I'll give this one, I'll give it a B. It was still fine. It was good. All right, season 2, episode 6. What if Kahhori reshaped the world? I liked this episode because I liked some of the historical elements that it played with. I liked that it gave us a new character. My only issue with Kahhori, although I think they do a better job with it here than they've done later when we've seen her again, is just clearly defining her powers and her powers limits. Of course, this isn't as much of an episode that has that problem as we get later in the season and then once again in season 3, I feel. So that being said, I think I'm gonna give this one an A because I really did like this episode itself. What if Hela found the 10 rings? I really, really like this episode. I think this is my favorite episode of the season. I thought it was really fun. I thought some of the parallels that we got between Hela and like kind of Shang-Chi even in this was like really weirdly cool. Even though, you know, like Shang-Chi isn't in this. I'm just saying there were some cool character comparisons and just like mashups in terms of people interacting that I never really thought about, and then it worked really, really well. So I think, yeah, this is an S tier for me. Also, just, I don't know. I know it's kind of corny at the end. But I felt it was corniness that was earned. I don't mind cheese as long as the cheese has been earned. Okay, what if the Avengers assembled in 1602? So while the end of this episode gets a little kooky, I will say I think that I really liked just getting to see all the 1602 versions of our characters, and I think they did it justice. So I'm gonna give this one an S tier because I really like this episode. Actually, should I give it an S tier? It does get pretty kooky at the end. I don't know. No, I'll go with my gut. Give it an S tier, Amanda. Go with your gut. Listen to yourself. Don't second guess. Oh, season 2, episode 9. Here's where the wheels fell off. So this season was going good. It was going strong. And then in the end, we had a villain who was already a villain last season who I thought we resolved everything. And they're like, nope, he's still evil. Why is Strange Supreme evil again? How did Kahhori know how to make all the portals to where and what? And I got a lot of questions. I got more questions than I have answers for this episode. And I just felt like it was messy. I felt like it was very messy. And I feel like they tried really hard to like make everything come together here in a way that I just didn't feel was necessary. Like, we don't need everything to come together so neatly, and I feel like they kind of forced it a little bit with this season overall, and this episode is kind of a culmination of that. I mean, a lot of my favorite stories here are ones that are just standalones. I think that speaks for what I really like about What If. So I'm gonna give this one I'm gonna give it an E. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad, but it's just how I feel. Oh, and I don't know if I said the title of the episode, but that episode was called, it's season 2, episode 9, What If Strange Supreme Intervened? Nothing good would happen. Nothing good. Okay, so now we're in season 3. A season that was overall fine. Overall, it was fine. That's my opinion on it. So, season 3, episode 1. What if the Hulk fought the Mech Avengers? Yeah, I didn't really love this episode. I didn't think it was the worst thing ever, but it was just like what was going on with it. So I think I'm gonna give it a C. I'll give it a C. It started off and I was like, why did we start with this? This was just like, meh. Season 2, episode 2. What if Agatha went to Hollywood? I still think this episode was really fun for me. I really liked it. I mean, I like the Eternals and I like Agatha, so keep that in mind. And I love a good dance number, so keep that in mind. Probably not everyone else's favorite episode, but it was definitely a highlight of the season for me, so I'll give this one an A. Season 3, episode 3. What if the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier? This was a really fun episode, and I think it's still, like, really solid. I'm gonna give this one, I don't know, I kind of want to give it an A, actually, in retrospect, because I'm thinking about it more, and I really liked it, but that ending, though, was a little weird. I'll give it a B. No, should I give it an A? That's what I wanted to do. I'll give it an A. What if Howard the Duck got hitched? Season 3, episode 4. The episode that all made us raise our eyebrows and go, what am I watching? What did I just walk into? Yeah, I mean, I love Seth Green and I love Kat Dennings, but this was a weird episode, man. This was a weird episode, man. I don't know. It has fun moments, though, doesn't it? And it has some really fun cameos. But I think I gotta give it a C in retrospect. Even though I didn't dislike it at the time as much as many other people did. I didn't have as many problems with it as other people. But it's really weird, isn't it? It's a really weird one. Not that What If can't be weird, it's just, is it too weird? Also, it came out on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. Howard is marrying Darcy. Why? What if? Season 3, episode 5. What if the Emergence destroyed the Earth? I really liked this. I really liked this episode. I'm giving this one an A. I really liked it. So you know what? Actually, season 3 isn't doing too bad. We haven't had any S tiers, but we've had 3 A's so far from me. So, you know, overall, maybe it's not as bad as we think it is. What if 1872? This episode was fine. I like Shang-Chi, and I like Kate Bishop, and I like the idea that it's a Western. I like the historical elements of it again. I'm actually wondering, was 1602? It wasn't the same number, was it? No. Although both episode 6s have historical elements in them from season 2 and season 3, which is interesting because that was the Kahhori episode last season. Yeah, I think there's some cool things going on here. I'm gonna give it a B. It was fine. I just wanted more from it, I think. But maybe that's a me thing, just because I love Shang-Chi. Okay, season 3, episode 7. What if the Watcher disappeared? Here's where it starts to get kind of weird for me, because like while I like this team, I do feel like we were building up to the end. I mean, I think this episode is better than the next episode. I think I would still say, though, even with some of the stuff that I liked in this, I think I'd still give it a C. I'm really only giving it, like, a just passing grade because of the characters in it. And I like the way that they interacted, but I just feel like overall what this ends up building to is not great, and I think as a standalone episode, it also doesn't stand alone very well. Not that I guess every episode of What If has to stand alone, but I do think that's when they're strongest. I think it's when it works best, when it's just like kind of a one-off story. And like, even if it's a story that is 2 parts, then you just have like, What If the Watcher Disappeared part 1 and part 2, so I can consider it at least part of the same package, because they call every What If a new title, which implies that it's like a standalone, even when it's not a standalone. Anyways, I'm talking too much about this, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Right? Tell me that I'm not alone in this. Or tell me that I'm completely alone in this. I just want to know where I stand. Season 3, episode 8. What if? What if? You know how I feel about this one. If you don't, I did a review on it, and I stated very clearly in my review how I feel. I just feel like this one is not specific enough, there's not enough stakes, and it's just kind of like, what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing here? And the fact that they ended with the idea of infinite possibilities, when you're ending your show that is What If, where there actually is infinite possibilities if you just kept it going, I don't know. And I do feel like, I mean, would I want more after season 3? I don't know, but I think that the cool thing about What If is that there's always a possibility for people to be interested by it, because it is just these individual stories when it's done well, and it can bring us all back into it at any time. So I don't think they really needed to end it. I think they could have ended it like kind of like a soft, like, we're gonna go for now, but like maybe we'll be back when we have more stories to tell. And the fight, I just wasn't here for that fight. I know a lot of people loved it, and if you loved it, I'm happy for you, but it just wasn't for me, which is also okay. Not everything has to be for everyone. That being said, I am gonna give this one an E. Yeah, I'm giving it an E. I don't know though, was it as bad as last year? Was it? I mean, last year was pretty bad for me with the finale. You know, yeah, I'm giving it an E. Stick with the guns, stick with your gut. I'm giving it an E. Also, I just realized this season was 1 episode shorter than last season. Huh. Interesting. Well, that's pretty much it. That's my tier list. And I mean, overall, I would say What If was pretty good. I mean, we had a few stinky episodes that were C and E, but most of the stuff passed. It was really just this season finale for season 2 and season 3 that I had the most issues with. And I mean, we had a lot of S tier stuff. In season 1, we had, how many is that? 4 episodes that were S tier, and in season 2, 2 episodes that were S tier, so we're not doing too bad. We're not doing too bad. Overall, I think What If was good. I think overall I'd say it was still pretty strong if we're considering all of the seasons and all of the stories that we got. But I mean, it's sometimes some of these stories just aren't very memorable, which granted, the cool thing about What If is I think different stories are going to stand out for different people. So it's not necessarily like, you know, none of these are memorable for at all. But at the same time, I do have to be honest that some of them just weren't very memorable for me. In retrospect, looking back, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, what do I really remember about this? Which I think, you know, is something that could be said about some of the MCU in general. I mean, just in general, you could say that about a lot of things. So I'm not just talking about this as an MCU problem, to be clear. I'm talking about this as a problem in general with just some of the art that we've had lately. But also, this is like over like centuries we've experienced art that's just like, I'm just not gonna remember that. And you know, our brains can only hold so much information at a time. So yeah, overall, I think it was a pretty strong show, but it's just unfortunate that some of those season endings weren't more hype. It was like they tried to build almost too much hype and in that way like undercut themselves. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes less is more, Marvel. All right, that's where I stand with this. If you want more tier lists where I do things in tiers for other Marvel stuff or comics or shows or whatever, let me know down in the comments. And if you like when I talk about, you know, things that I love, I did also just drop my best TV shows of 2024, so you can check that out. What If season 3 is not on there, but stay tuned. I'm gonna have a worse TV shows coming out. I actually don't know if What If is gonna be on there, but we shall see what's on there. Anyways, check it out. I'll see you next time. Until then, friends, stay nerdy. Bye!